If you're a mobile developer, you know the grind for user acquisition is real. But what if? What if you could let players actually try your game before they even hit install? That is the incredible power of playable ads. And today, we are going to crack the code on how you can build them for every major platform out there.
Look, let's just start with a number that basically says it all. According to Facebook, playable ads can drive an insane 79% higher average revenue per user. This isn't just about getting more installs. It's about attracting the right users, the ones who engage, stick around, and actually support your game. The proof is right there. When you let people play, it pays off. So what is a playable ad, really? Think of it like a tiny interactive demo of your app, all built in HTML5. It completely flips the script. It takes someone from just passively watching a video to actively participating. Instead of seeing your game, they get to play a little piece of it. It's the ultimate try before you buy, and it is an absolute game changer for converting people who are just curious into real, dedicated players. Okay, you're sold. You want to build one? So where do you even start? Well, before we get into all the messy platform-specific stuff, let's lay down the universal blueprint, because thankfully, there are a few core technical specs that pretty much every ad network can agree on. This is your foundation. First thing you have to decide is packaging, and you've really got two main choices here. First is the single inlined HTML file. It's exactly what it sounds like. Everything, your code, your images, your CSS, is all crammed into one single index.html file. Unity, for example, demands this approach. The other option is a zip package, where all your assets are nicely organized in folders, just like a regular website. Platforms like Facebook are totally cool with this format. Now, let's talk about the absolute golden rule of playable ads. Keep it small. That magic number you need to aim for is under 5 megabytes. And trust me, this is not a suggestion. It's critical. Why? Because a smaller file means a faster load time, which means the user is actually playing your demo instead of just staring at a loading screen and bouncing. Almost everyone, from Unity to Facebook, enforces this limit pretty strictly. All right, so you've got the basics down. You know the universal blueprint. Now for the fun part. And by fun, I mean the hard part. This is where the platforms all go their separate ways, and each one starts throwing its own unique and, often conflicting requirements right at you. And here is a perfect and kind of frustrating example of that conflict. Emraid. It's supposed to be the industry standard for rich media ads. But get this. Unity absolutely requires you to use it. Your ad literally has to wait for a specific Emraid signal before it can even start. And Facebook? They don't just ignore Emraid, they will actively reject your ad if that Emraid script is even present. They are, on this point, 100% incompatible. Now, that Emraid problem directly affects the single most important part of your ad, that big, shiny Install Now button. On Unity, you use the standard Emraid function, emraid.open function, to link to the App Store. Simple enough. But on Facebook, you have to use their own special proprietary code, fbplayablead.onCTClick function. The bottom line here is simple. If you use the wrong code, your button does nothing. It's a dead link. And all that money you're spending on the ad, poof, wasted. Okay, deep breath. Now let's talk about Apple. Because Apple plays by a completely different rulebook. I want you to forget everything we just said about HTML files and zip packages. Apple's ad system isn't about running your code. It's all about something they call custom product pages, which are basically different versions of your App Store page that you build yourself, right inside App Store Connect. So with Apple, you can create up to 35 different storefronts for your one app. The ads are then built using the videos and screenshots from those pages. This creates this incredibly smooth, seamless journey for the user. Just imagine, a player sees an ad for a cool new character in your game, they tap it, and they land on a store page that is dedicated entirely to that character. It's a perfectly connected experience, from the first ad they see all the way to the final install. Okay, so building an ad that works technically is one big hurdle, but then you have to navigate the rules of the road. These are the policies from industry groups like the IAB and from the app stores themselves. And these aren't platform-specific. These apply to everybody, and they're all about one thing: protecting the user experience. So the Interactive Advertising Bureau, or IAB, they kind of set the standard for what makes a good, non-annoying ad. Their guidelines are mostly common sense, but they are absolutely crucial. For playable ads, you have to give the user an exit after 30 seconds, no exceptions. You need to make it super clear what's an ad and what's the game. And even tiny user experience details matter, like having a little buffer space around the close button so people don't click it by accident. It's all about respecting the player's time and device. Now, following the rules sounds pretty straightforward, right? But what happens when the whole concept of your game kind of blurs that line between gameplay and, well, an ad? This is where some developers can run into some really weird, unexpected trouble with those platform policies. Let me tell you about a real-world case study. A developer on Reddit was totally stumped. They kept getting their game rejected by Google Play for an ads policy violation. But here's the kicker. Their game had 0 ads. As they explained, the entire point of their game, Win Smash, was to close fake pop-up windows as fast as you can. They had built this clever, funny parody, but Google's automated review system, it saw something very different.
So what's the lesson here? Well, first, automated review bots, they do not get irony. Google's system saw pop-ups and immediately flagged them as misleading ads. But more importantly, both Google and Apple have super strict policies against mimicking operating system functions or warnings because you can't have a user thinking their phone actually has a fatal error. So the takeaway is this. If your game is a parody of ads or system alerts, you have to make it wildly, absurdly obvious that it's all just part of the game.
So you did it. You built a compliance ad, you navigated the policies, and it got approved. You're done, right? Ha, not even close. Getting your ad live is just the starting line. The real win is a high-performing campaign, and that means you've got to get into a continuous cycle of testing and optimizing. The playbook for success is actually a really simple 4-step loop. You launch the ad, you measure its performance with cold, hard data. You test different variations to see if you can beat your control, and then you iterate, applying everything you learn to the next version. This isn't something you do once, it's a constant cycle of getting better and better. By keeping a close eye on these key metrics, you can spot something called ad fatigue before it completely torches your budget. That's when your audience has seen your ads so many times, it just stops working. Is your engagement rate dropping? That probably means your hook isn't landing anymore. Completion rate falling off a cliff? You're losing people mid-demo. And if your conversion rate dips or your cost per install starts creeping up, that's your alarm bell. It's time to iterate. So there you have it. We've gone from the universal blueprint to the messy, diverging codes of each platform. We've navigated policy minefields, and we've laid out the endless loop of optimization. Look, the world of playable ads is definitely complex, but the potential is just enormous. You have the blueprint now. You've cracked the code. The only question left is, what will you build first?